Okay, we're here with Sam Bennett. I know everybody, we just got through one election. We need to break for the next. But believe it or not, at least in my opinion, the next year's election across the country is a lot more important than we just had because it's the local election. This is what affects your everyday, day-to-day life and all aspects of your life. And plus, these are people that you see on the streets every day, that you have access to every day, not just, when they're in the area or whatever. But Sam and I've known you for a little over a year now, I believe. And we actually, when I first arrived at the mansion, the bed and breakfast, we actually had a great conversation where I had questions as a voter. But right now we're going to get to the important part, the interview. Now, just a quick 2-minute, can you give people, as far as your background, this way you can get an idea of your qualifications for the mayor of Allentown?
Absolutely. I moved to Allentown almost 30 years, definitely 30 years ago, almost 32 years ago now. My first husband, Jeff, was the soccer coach at Muhlenberg College, and we initially lived in Easton, and then we settled in Allentown. And what was really striking way back then is I was pregnant with Rachel, our second child. She graduated from William Allen High School in 2004. Her sister, Emma, who was 2 at the time, graduated from William Allen High School in 2002, and our delightful menopause gift, David, is a 9th grader at William Allen now and scheduled to graduate in 2020. But back 30 years ago, when we were looking for a place to settle down, because we were renting a home in Easton from a friend who was attending General Theological Seminary. They rented us their house in Easton. The real estate agent took me to all these developments, Michael, that had just been built. They were very...
You said about 20 or 30 years ago?
30 years ago. This is over 30
I remember
years ago.
that.
So it was, and it was very barren to me. And I was completely unimpressed and very disillusioned. And so one day, the real estate agent, after weeks of this, made the mistake, I say he made the brilliant move, but he made the mistake of inviting me to Sailors. That used to be a restaurant owned by the Sailor family that had the shanty. And their son, I believe, had Sailor's Diner right on 19th Street and Tillman, and invited to lunch. Now, back in the day, 32 years ago, we didn't have this thing called GPS. Now, I get lost in a paper bag, right? So I knew if I was going someplace completely foreign, completely new, I had to bring maps. I had to go an hour ahead of time to get lost.
Actually stop at a gas station and ask for directions.
Right, that was my life. I have no sense of internal direction, unfortunately. So there I was, pregnant with Rachel, going to meet this real estate agent at Sailor's Restaurant for lunch. And of course got lost, anticipated getting lost. But in getting lost and driving around Allentown for the first time, even though my first husband, Jeff, at the time, was working at Muhlenberg, this was my first time driving around Allentown. And what I saw, Michael, were these tree-lined streets, this gorgeous historic architecture, these beautiful churches. I saw these parks. I accidentally wandered into the Allentown Fairgrounds, which I thought was so remarkable, right in the center of the city. And then the hospital complexes. Of course, I wandered all over because I was completely lost. And I finally made it to Sailors and arrived on time. And I asked the real estate agent, who's remained a good friend all these years, and I said, why did you never take us to Allentown to look at a home to buy? This is a beautiful city. And the other thing I love, by the way, before I do the punchline, was all the outdoor art. I was amazed by the outdoor art. And he said, Sam, no one ever wants to see Allentown. And that was 30 years ago. And if I were a newlywed couple who just got a job at Air Products or at Muhlenberg College, they would have exactly the same experience I did 30 years ago. No one ever wants to see Allentown. So I'm running for mayor because I have lived all over the world. My daddy was a Marine. I lived in Saigon, Vietnam during the war. My stepfather ran a plastic surgery unit for war-injured children. I have attended some of the worst schools in America, North Carolina, Michael, right after desegregation. I've attended the best school in the world, Singapore American School. And I know what the difference is when it comes to schools, when it comes to communities, when it comes to quality of life. I have loved every minute I've lived in Allentown. And our children have been raised and educated in the Allentown School District, have gone on to excellent colleges, wonderful lives. I'm running for mayor for the 3rd time. Remember, I lost by 46 votes in my first political outing against Roy Offenbach. I was recruited by Democrats and Republicans to run for mayor back in 2000. I ran for mayor again against Ed Pulowski in 2005, came in second.
I was in North Carolina for that
All
one.
right, and I only had 3 months, Michael, for that race, because I have been running a national initiative that I led this area to be the top performing swing region in the country in the Kerry-Bush face-off, and we delivered Pennsylvania for Kerry in 2004, right here. But I'm running for mayor, again, for the third time, the last time I'm running, even though I've run for U.S. Congress, right, in 2008, garnered more votes, raised more money than any Democrat had previously in terms of vote count, third highest in terms of money raised. And have been commuting, believe it or not, don't laugh, to Washington for 5 years, have a job down there as a CEO.
Right after we got married, parents in Massachusetts one week and friends in North Carolina the next. So I understand.
Yeah, and running the bed and breakfast. Our home is the first and only bed and breakfast in Allentown, but running the bed and breakfast on the weekends. But I left all that. I'm home, not commuting anymore, here in our campaign offices, running for mayor because of this. Yes, we've had some wonderful things happening in the 5-block center city, that 5-block news zone. But the challenge is we have not been dealing with these root problems that cause people, even to this day, to say, I don't want to live in Allentown. I don't want to go to restaurants in Allentown. I don't want to live in Allentown. I certainly don't want my children educated in Allentown. The perception of our crime is disproportionate. The perception of our school district is incorrect. Yes, we have challenges, but if we simply corrected those things, Michael, plus addressed the runaway absentee landlordism that our city struggles with, we can dramatically elevate our city back to our former stature. And in my opinion, there is nobody better qualified by dint of executive experience, by dint of my proven skill in marketing and branding, and of my years of volunteerism here in the community, doing everything from the William Allen Construction Company to the Freedom Memorial and everything in between. I would argue that no one has done more without being in elected office than I have. And now I'm hoping that the voters of Allentown will give me this chance, will hire me as their chief executive officer, as the mayor of their city, so that we can create dramatic change. And we need a mayor, Michael, but most importantly, who can take the momentum that we have gotten so far and has the national and international standing, as I do, to take that ball and keep running with it and do even more with it. And nobody of the folks running for mayor right now are better qualified to do that than I am.
Okay. We're going to take a break here just because, number one, I know everybody's short attention span. Number two, I'm an author and I like to leave people on a cliffhanger. It's in my blood. We're going to take a short break and then we're actually going to get into the questions. And some of these, I've seen the media asking politicians from every level, it's the same ones over and over. Well, I have different questions because of the fact of walking the streets and taking the public transportation. So, and I see things in a different way than most of the media.
Which is important, Michael.